Welcome in, everybody, at KSLSports.com. It's our 2024 Reveal Show. Devin, Dixon, Kaden, Foremaster, live with you this morning. Kaden, really excited to show everybody the path to the championship.
Absolutely. 2A, 3A, 4A, all of it's here. All of it's live right now, KSLSports.com. And we're here representing the Fan Sports Network. We're going to be covering all of the different classifications from 2A through 4A, as I just mentioned. It's going to be a blast. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. We're going to start with the 4A. We're going to run down from the top to the bottom. Here are your baseball brackets. And then as soon as we're done with showing you all these, Coach Sechrist of Snow Canyon is going to join us for some reaction. Here you can see the top of the bracket. Dixie, the overall #1 seed. They will wait to this weekend's regional, and they will be at home in the Super Regional hosting either Hurricane or Cottonwood.
Yeah, Hurricane Cottonwood. That's going to be that middle ground matchup, your 16-17 matchup. So potentially the most competitive. That's the one you're always looking forward to in those first rounds. And they have to go face the #1 seed in Dixie.
Yep. On the other side, Provo will host Hillcrest, and then Ridgeline gets a top 8 seed. Congratulations to the Riverhawks. They'll get the bye this weekend, and then they'll get the winner of that Provo-Hillcrest Huskies matchup. Let's keep moving. That's the top of the bracket. We go to the lower half of the top of the bracket, and we've got some really good teams right here that we're going to get to. This is where you're going to see Mountain Crest taking on Tooele, and Uinta will take on Green Canyon. And the number 4 and the number 5 seed is Desert Hills. They get the 4 seed, and Bear River draws the number 5 seed. So Dixie and Desert Hills, Bear River, and Ridgeline, those are your teams in the top 8 that will be on the top of the bracket.
Yeah, for sure. And you look at both Desert Hills and Bear River here, teams that are more and more competitive this season than I think we were expecting them to maybe be, especially with Desert Hills. Only one senior on that roster, for those who don't know. So this is a team that is full of underclassmen that really showed out taking that 4 seed. And again, yes, they will take the winner of the Uinta and Green Canyon matchup in the regional round.
Yeah, that's good. That top of the bracket. You look at will upsets happen, or will it go chalk in the super regionals? Again, the home site games this weekend. They'll be on Friday and Saturday. The super regionals next weekend, May 9th and 10th. And then bracket play will start up May 13th and run all the way through state championship Saturday, May 18th. It's a best of 3, and all those games, once we get up to Northern Utah, will be at Salt Lake Community College. Having a little trouble with our graphics on the top half of the bracket, but let's keep moving here. We got to go to the lower part of the bracket, and the number 2 seed goes to the Snow Canyon Warriors. Region champs, went 11-1. And they were in a race all year with Dixie for that overall #1 seed and the region title, and the Warriors come in as the number 2 seed.
Yeah, they had a chance there with their final series being against Dixie, and then a few other games over the weekend to try to maybe knock Dixie out of that #1 seed. Couldn't quite accomplish that goal, but still coming in at a 2 seed. And the way the bracket's set up, it's I wouldn't say it doesn't matter which seed you are, because it definitely feels like it matters, but you do have a great chance where you can just work your way through that bottom half of the bracket, and maybe you will meet up with Dixie in the finals in the championship round.
So Canyon will be scouting this weekend. They'll wait the matchup between the 15 seed Payson Lions and the 18 seed Mountain View Bruins. And then right there on the same part of that lower bracket, top half, the 7 seed goes to the not 1, but 2-time defending state champ Crimson Cliffs Mustangs and Coach Abbott. They will sit back and watch this weekend's 10 seed Juan Diego and the 22 seed Logan Grizzlies regional matchup.
Yeah, they're happy to be inside of that super regional round, getting the bye through the first week. Of course, yes, they are going to be facing off against Juan Diego or Logan. But Crimson Cliffs, a little bit of a step back from last year with the championship team that they had, but they're still fighters. They're still going to be a tough team to beat, especially considering they are getting that bye into the super regional round.
They got some guys that can really bop it, guys like Trey Evans. They lost so much pitching from last year's state championship run, but if the pitching gets hot in the postseason, we're talking about a chance to three-peat. Don't count out this Mustang team.
Not at all. That 7th seed shouldn't be able to scare anybody. They can go out and face off anybody and take them down.
So again, Payson, Mountain View, Juan Diego, Logan, and then Snow Canyon and Crimson will wait the winners on the top of the lower part of the bracket. Let's go to the very bottom of the 4A state championship baseball bracket here. And there's the matchups for you. Pineview Struggled a little later in the region season. They slide down to the 11 seed, and they will take on the 22 seed Skyview this weekend at Pineview High School. Those games we will have on the Fan Sports Network. And Park City draws the 6 seed, Kaden. They'll be sitting back waiting for the winner of the Panther and Skyview matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And then taking a look at that next matchup between Stansbury and Cedar, winner has to go on and face Timpanogos. And this is a good Timpanogos team that has been brought back into 4A play here. And that's the thing about this. It's an extended bracket from what we've seen last year. Last year, only 13 total teams, and now we're moving well past 13 teams. There's a lot of teams here in 4A. Timpanogos being one of those that's been brought back in that's going to compete, and they're going to be really tough.
So again, recap your top 8 seeds. Dixie, the 1 seed. Snow Canyon is the 2 seed, right? 3 seed is Timpanogos. 4 seed, Desert Hills. 5 seed is Bear River. The 6 seed is Park City. The 7 seed, Crimson Cliffs. And the 8 seed is Ridgeline in the 4A bracket. And here to talk about the bracket, he's seen this for the very first time. We're going to bring in head coach of the Snow Canyon Warriors, who draw the number 2 seed, Coach Seacrest, joining us now. Coach, 20 years at the helm over there for Snow Canyon. As we ran through the matchups and you saw the bracket revealed, what went through your mind, and what do you think about drawing the number 2 seed, Coach?
I think it's great. I think we're where we need to be. I mean, we did, like you guys said, we had a chance to get the number 1 seed, but it doesn't really matter when you get to the bracket time. It's wherever you're at, and we'll be happy to take the 2 seed. We had the 2 seed in 21 and got it done. So kind of happy. And then, last year we got the 1 seed, Crimson got the 2, and they won it. So maybe the 2 is a lucky place to be.
Coach, you have 4 state championship titles. Your youngest son is a senior now on this team. You've been coaching these kids all the way up through since Crew was in 2nd grade or something like that. Talk about your team and your chances and your thoughts on some of the opponents you might have to face if you guys do get to that championship game on May 18th.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, Payson and Mountain View, I like those matchups. Obviously, those are some teams that have struggled, but at the same time, you get behind some good pitching and you can get some good things done. And I think that's kind of where we have the edge on some teams. We're pretty deep with our pitching, and we're looking forward to getting that done. Kyson Goats and Andrew Lyon and Jackson Kirby's back now, and then a whole lot of guys coming off the bench to fill in those spots. And I think when you have the pitching to get through a bracket, that's the important part of this.
Assuming things go chalk through the super regionals, it would be Snow Canyon and Crimson Cliffs on that first round matchup at Salt Lake Community College. How do you feel looking back at that matchup, knowing that this is a look back at the championship?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you guys said, they've lost some guys, but great coaching staff over there. Got that team prepared. It's one of those things where we have to come and be ready to go if that is the matchup. And we look forward to it, obviously. I mean, but definitely a great bunch of kids over there. Played us tough at their field and also at ours too. So I know they'll be ready. And like I said, they're well coached and lots of good kids over there. So look forward to that one.
Coach, Park City is a team that's always dangerous in postseason, and I don't know if you faced them in the regular season. They're in that region where they put up some big statistics. Timpanogos, the other part of your region. Give us some thoughts on some of those teams you could potentially face that are not region teams.
So yeah, Timpanogos definitely. We got to see them a little bit early in the year, and they've got definitely some good pitchers on that team, and so we'll need to be ready for that. And obviously, they win, and they're coached well by Coach Nilsson, and definitely going to be tough there. Park City actually has always played us tough in the playoffs, so we need to make sure that we're ready for those guys. And they're the region champs up there, and but like I said, they've always played us tough in the championship or in the playoffs. So we'll look forward to all those matchups, but definitely some dang good baseball teams throughout the state. So it should be a fun time.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Coach, we really appreciate you taking a couple minutes out of your busy morning teaching health class over there at Snow Canyon High School to jump on and talk some baseball with us. I know you love talking baseball and talking about your guys and your team.
No, thanks for having me, and we'll see how it all goes down.
All right, let the playoffs begin. That's Coach Secret, Snow Canyon Warriors. They get the 2 seeds. There's a little rivalry. I mean, Dixie and Snow Canyon 1-2. They split in the final week of the season. You know, Snow Canyon was trying to go undefeated until last Friday. Dixie got them 13-7. Will they meet in the championship? A lot of teams have something to say before that happens. All right, let's keep it rolling here on the big reveal show. Devin, Dixon, Kaden, Foremaster, excited to break down the 4A. Let's go to the 3A bracket. And to do so, we're going to bring in Mid-Utah Radio sports director and play-by-play announcer and former colleague of mine way back in the day, Robert Lovell, who joins us now. And Rob, we want your help breaking this down. You guys are going to be calling the 3A state championships, you and Corey Sorensen. And let's get to it, buddy. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're excited for the state tournament to get underway. 3A making that change to that 4A, 5A, 6A format kind of mid-season this year to go to that week-long format with the super regionals happening Thursday and Friday. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes things.
All right, let's take a look at the bracket. And again, Robert Lovell joining us. He's going to give us some insight on the 3A brackets. And we're starting again with the top of the bracket. Here we go. The number 1 overall seed, as you can see, Grantsville. Robert, are you surprised Grantsville, the number 1 overall seed?
No, they go 18-2 this year. They lose 1 game to a 3A team. That was Union last game of the season. They lose that game, but Region 13 champions, their only other loss was to Bear River. So they had a great season, did Grantsville. So no surprise to see them there at the top.
All right. Looking at that matchup, they'll get South Summit. You look the 8-9 matchup there, ALA and Emory. Any edge there? That 8-9 matchup, that feels like an NCAA 5-12 matchup that could go either way, buddy.
That's an interesting matchup. ALA is the region champion out of Region 14. They go 9-1 in region play, and they end up with the 9 seed. Emory is the 5th team in Region 12 in the top 8. And so it tells you the depth of Region 12 and maybe where Region 14 is trying to get to. ALA's played a lot of teams close. They went 17-7 on the year. Emory, when Wade Stilson on the mound, is probably as good as anybody. And so that'll be really a fun super regional. Having it be best of 3 definitely makes things different this year for 3A than what we're used to in the past.
All right, we look at the right side of that bracket, the 5-12 seed, Morgan Summit Academy, and then Canyon View and Richfield. Give us some thoughts on those matchups.
Canyon View run-ruled Richfield both times in that 4-13 matchup in Region 12 play. Again, it's 2 Region 12 teams matching up with each other there in that 4-13. Canyon View is a good team. To me, they're one of the favorites going into it. They're deep. They've got a deep pitching staff. They can hit. Richfield's a fairly young team. New head coach Drew Hill, of course, off of his finishing his college career at TCU. Now coming back to Central Utah and coaching at Richfield and doing some really good things there for the Wildcats, but they're a younger team, and we'll see how it kind of breaks down those in that super regional. But Canyon View got them pretty handily the first 2 times.
Canyon View has been doing well since they dropped down from 4A a couple of years ago, and seems like they've gotten better and better and better the last couple of years, loaded up with talent. A quick thought on Morgan Summit Academy there, Robert?
Yeah, that's a Region 13, Region 14 matchup. Morgan took 3rd in Region 13 play, but they get the higher seed than Union, coming in as the 5 seed with Summit Academy there at the 12. That one, you'd have to give the edge to Morgan on that one. They've really played a good season this year. They're also 17-7 overall on the year. They've really taken a step forward this season from the last couple of years. So you'd give the edge certainly to the 5 seed.
All right, taking a look at the bottom half of the bracket of the 3A baseball championships. Here we go. Top left of your screen, that is the 6-11 matchup. That is Providence Hall and Manti. The winners of those will get the winner of North Sanpete, the 14 seed, as they will take on the Dinos of Carbon High. Robert, what do you see in that matchup? Who's got a tough road there?
Well, it's going to be crazy to think, but I honestly think it was a rough draw for Carbon as the 3 seed, getting North Sanpete. Carbon had a walk-off to beat North Sanpete the first time in region play. Then they had played their second game of region yesterday, and North Sanpete had the lead going into the 6th. 3 errors by the Hawks gave the opportunity for Carbon to come back and win the game. But, you look at that, and that's the most intriguing matchup, I think, on this side of the bracket is that Carbon-North Sanpete, even though it's a 3-14. North Sanpete's a dangerous team. They've got some really good pieces, and when they put it all together, they can beat a lot of the really good teams in 3A. That Manti-Providence Hall matchup, you'd give the edge to Manti. Manti is one of the best hitting teams in the 3A classification. They can flat out hit the baseball. They've got some good pitching as well. They're hoping to get Britton Kiesel back from injury as a pitcher, and that'll help them a lot going into the tournament. But you'd certainly give the edge to Manti in that one.
Looking at the top part of this bottom bracket on the other side there, we've got Ogden and Union, your 10 seed and your 7 seed. And winners will go on to face the winner of Delta and Juab. Let's take a look at some of those. Juab coming in as the 2 seed here. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, Juab certainly one of the favorites as well coming into this state tournament. They've got the number 1 ranked junior in the state in Austin Park. He committed to BYU this last fall, and he's having just an incredible season, both pitching, hitting, in the field. He can do it all, and it's not just him. They've got 2 guys that have 65 strikeouts on the year, and they have a lot of guys that can hit the baseball. That's really a very talented, good Juab team. The defending state champions, of course, is Juab. And then Delta comes in. They're a really young team. Sophomores kind of lead the way for that group. They've got some seniors and juniors that do their role, but it's a younger team for Delta as they try to get the upset. Juab pretty well handled them in their both Region 12 games this year, but that's – we'll see how it goes. Juab's certainly the favorite going into that one. The 10-7 matchup, Union really almost 20 ran Ogden both times in Region 13 play. Union's another young team, but they are scrappy. Coach Matt Labrum, of course, one of the best in the business, and he's got his team really where they want to be right now, finishing the season, giving Grantsville their only loss in 3A to end the season. So Union's playing really good baseball right now. You'd probably certainly give the edge to the 7th seed in that series.
Anybody outside the top 4 seeds that you see as a really good chance to maybe get hot and win this bracket, or do you think it's one of those top 4 seeds that has the best shot?
Well, certainly those top 4 seeds are going to have that primary edge, but Manti, with their ability to hit, they're a very dangerous team. 1 through 11 can hit the baseball on that Manti team. And then when their pitching is on, they're very good pitchers too. Case and Bailey, Britton Kiesel, those guys can pitch. And so the format is going to be kind of a key this year for 3A. I know I've talked to several coaches about they're trying to figure out how to get their pitching lined up for Monday, trying to figure out, all right, super regionals, what do we do? What do we do on Monday? How does it work now? Everybody knew what they wanted to do in that 3-day state tournament, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's changed, and it changed mid-season on them. And so it's an interesting piece there. But then the other one I think that's dangerous, Union is dangerous. They're a really good team. They're young. And so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make that run. But Emory's the other one that I look at that say that they are a team that can knock off those top 4 and make a run. Wade Stiltson's one of the best players in 3A. He's a fun one to watch. So I'd say certainly the top 4, but if I looked at any others outside of that group, you'd look at probably Manti and Emory.
All right, good stuff, Robert Lovell. He's not done. We got more work for you to do.
That's right.
That's the 3A bracket. Let's reveal the 2A bracket. Those you've been logged on, and this is what you want to see. Here we go. Top half of the 2A baseball bracket. The number 1 overall seed goes to Kanab. They will await that 8-9 matchup. That is the 8 seed Milford hosting the 9 seed Gunnison.
Yeah, and this one's back to the original format, right? So it's the first round pod. So Milford, Gunnison, and Kanab will all be in Kanab on Saturday. Kanab, the defending state champions, they get the number 1 seed again, an incredibly deep pitching staff for the Cowboys. And you go up against a potentially Gunnison or Milford, and Milford in that 2A West region played all of those top teams really close, at least once, if not both games. So they played Kanab tough. They played Enterprise tough. They played Beaver tough. They played South Sevier tough. So those top teams in that 2A West, Milford gave all of them a really good game. So they're a little dangerous there, that 8 seed. And then Gunnison Valley has one of the top pitchers in 2A in Braxton Pickett. And when he's dialed in, they're a dangerous team too. So that 8-9 matchup is intriguing. Who do you pitch in that 8-9 matchup? What the coaches do there and say, all right, who do we have available to play Kanab in that second round game? So that'll be a fun one to see on Saturday, how the coaches for Milford and Gunnison decide who to pitch and how they come out in that game.
Yeah, there's obviously strategies both ways in the 2A format, 3A, 4A, different format. I mean, you got to definitely have a plan. You got to have multiple pitchers if you're going to win a state championship.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no question about that. All right, that's a look at the top half there. You see Miller, Beaver, San Juan, and Monticello. Let's go to the bottom half of the bracket. And here we go. The number 2 seed there at the bottom of your screen, Enterprise, the Wolves. Kaden, your alma mater, taking on North Summit.
That's right. And I just to speak on that a little bit, Coach Bundy, he's been there for coming up on 20 years. He's been there for a long time, and he's always had this team dialed up for a really long time. A lot of good athletes in Enterprise. as a 2 seed, they really do have a good shot of making waves for sure.
All right, if they get past North Summit, they'll face that Duchesne North Severe matchup. Then you look at that top of the bracket. There you've got South Severe and Parowan. That's the 6-11. And then the 3-14 matchup, Grand and Water Canyon. What else do you see in that top half of the bracket there in the 2A championships, Robert?
This is going to be a fun bracket. Certainly, you'd give the edge to Enterprise and Duchesne in that pod that's happening in Enterprise on Saturday. And then you've got South Severe and Grand that will certainly have the edge in the other one. But how those match up, I look at 2A as a whole, and most of the year I've looked at, Kanab and Enterprise as kind of the favorites with Beaver, South Severe, Duchesne, kind of as those lurking teams. But San Juan and Grand have really impressed me this season with what they've been able to do at the plate. They're a team that can hit the baseball. And when you get up to UVU in that big outfield, it really changes things. And so those two teams, how they hit the baseball is going to be crucial. I think it's important, obviously, for a team like South Severe to try to sneak one on the road on Saturday against Grand and not have to allow them to play them at UVU as a result. But Grand and San Juan, I think, might be the best hitting teams in the 2A classification this year. The pitching for Kanab and Beaver and South Severe is probably the deepest. Those three teams probably have the deepest pitching. The best player in 2A might be Parker Staley, though, for Enterprise. I mean, he gets it done on the mound. He gets it done at the plate. There's a lot of really good players, and I'm really excited to see how 2A shakes out because I could make a case for 7 teams to take state in 2A.
Ooh, Robert thinks it's wide open, folks, which should make the 2A bracket very exciting. Of course, you want to stay on that winner side of the bracket, but you mentioned pitching. Some of the teams that have more pitching. If you do, happen to drop down and go racing through that one last side of the bracket, you better have a deep pitching staff in the starting department and in the back end in the closer role.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. And I think that's where Kanab probably has the advantage over everyone else is that they can go 6-7 pitchers deep. And I mean, obviously you drop off a little bit, but they've got 7 guys that can go out there and throw and win a game for you. South Severe's probably a little stronger on the top of that. They've got 3 to 4 guys that are really good, strong, then a couple coming backing them up. Enterprise, obviously it really starts with Staley there on the Enterprise side. And then they've got Gardner and Randall and Bundy that can come in and throw as well. And Beaver is the team that, I mentioned that Kanab Enterprise I've kind of had as the favorites. Beaver has probably taken over that route because the Beavers have looked really strong the last month of the season. Deegan Bailey, Bodie Wheatley have been a strong 1-2 punch on the mound. The question for Beaver is, where do they go after that? Andrew Hollingshead coming back from injury has been big, but how deep is their pitching staff might be the question for the Beavers. But Beaver's a fun team to watch. And then San Juan and Grand, like I said, they can hit. And the question for me on them is, do they have the pitchers to do it? But if you get into a shootout, which in those 2A state tournaments, you often end up in shootouts on Friday night and Saturday, it could be very well lay right out perfectly for San Juan and Grand.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. There's the 2A bracket. Robert, great work as always. Robert, Corey Sorensen, they'll be calling all of the 3A games on KSLSports.com. Of course, they'll probably have some mid-Utah radio games in the opening rounds. And then once it gets up to the main site, that's where you'll hear Robert and Corey. And then Willie Akers and Nolan Anderson will be doing the 2A call on KSLSports.com as well. And do we expect a lot of runs scored? Well, it sounds like Robert thinks so. I mean, I see 2 guys that are top 5 in the state for Enterprise and RBIs. So there's going to be some runs scored in 2A, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of runs scored in 2A, and we see that every year, right? They run out of pitchers. It feels like the state championship game. You're running out freshmen that have only pitched a third of an inning in varsity that year, and because of just the way the format is. And so I think you'll see some runs in the 2A classification, which is why I said it kind of lays out well, I think, for San Juan and Grand, because they might be the 2 best hitting teams in 2A.
Robert Lovell, appreciate your work, man. Always love chatting with you, talking high school sports, buddy.
Yeah, good to be with you again.
All right, that's Robert Lovell, again, Mid-Utah Radio sports director, play-by-play announcer, and all-around good guy. Kaden, let's go back. I think we've got our graphics fixed here. Let's go back to the 4A before we wrap it up because wanted to kind of give everybody a little cleaner look there. Again, there is the top of the bracket there. You see Dixie, the number 1 overall seed. I don't know if I've seen a catcher like Ridge Erickson in the state of Utah. Might be one of the state's best catchers of all time. He hits leadoff. He gets put out after put out. Nobody dares run against this kid. And then you add in Boston Vest and all the pitchers that they have, Jake Andreas, Logan Levitt, Yates. This is a loaded Dixie Flyer team that's the top seed.
100%. You talk about Ridge Erickson alone. I mean, there's a reason BYU's picked him up, because he really is, in my opinion, he's the best catcher in the state, and that's 1A through 6A. He's just that good of a catcher, where he can, like you say, the back picks that he's able to do, the throwdowns to second, that's phenomenal. But he's got a good bat as well. You can rely on his bat just about any game to go out there and get you a hit when you need it. So there's a reason he's also leading off this lineup. But he's not the only one, right? You do have some other great bats out there, but as well, just even out in the field, they don't make a lot of mistakes. That's the biggest thing why Dixie is this number 1 seed. They don't make errors. They don't make mistakes. They take care of the baseball. It's clean. It's a good game of baseball that Dixie plays.
Yeah, well, they get Cottonwood or Hurricane. Tigers will have to go on the road against the Colts. There you see the other side of the bracket. Nice buy there for Ridgeline. You just want a top 8 seed, right? Once you get a top 8 seed, you got this weekend off. You can do some scouting. You can get guys healthy. You can save some innings pitched. Although rest versus rust is always an interesting topic. Some teams would prefer to play, but the fact that you're a top 8 seed means you had a really good regular season once the final brackets have been revealed here. This is the big reveal show. There you see Provo and Hillcrest. Let's keep moving through the 4A bracket here for you. And this is fun, man. I mean, you look at this pod right here, Bear River and Desert Hills, Mountain Crest and Tooele. You went to Green Canyon. There's some really interesting matchups. Bear River is always so well coached. They've got some dudes on the bump, and they're going to be a tough out. And Desert Hills, you mentioned how young this Thunder team is. For a long time, the Thunder's Hagen Reed was leading the state in home runs. Then people started pitching around him, and he's been stuck on 7 for like 3 or 4 weeks now.
Yeah, he settled in at 7 home runs throughout this season. And maybe, that's been through region play. Maybe you get into the state championships here and into the playoffs, and you start to see some different pitchers. He might start hitting some over that wall again. So you got to be really careful with this Desert Hills team, because they are going to be tough. And, of course, they'll face the winner of Uinta Green Canyon, as, again, you can see right there. And Bear River holding off into that 5 seed. They've played a great regional round, and they get the winner of Mountain Crest and Tooele. And I would expect to see Bear River at Salt Lake Community College.
Big question for Desert Hills is Crew Christensen going to be able to pitch? Will Harmon Skeen, their young sophomore, is he shut down for the year, as we're hearing, pitching, maybe only DHing? Again, only 1 senior. But a 4 seed for the Thunder with only 1 senior. This team is loaded with young talent.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a fun portion of the bracket. All right, let's move on here to the bottom half of the bracket. This is where you see the Snow Canyon Warriors. We had Coach Seacrest on the show earlier talking about the draw for the Warriors there. Couldn't quite go undefeated in region, but they were your outright region champs, which still does mean something for a lot of these coaches and players.
It does. You still get some sort of hardware at the end of the day, right? So for Snow Canyon, that definitely means something. They split with Dixie as well, which is the number 1 team here in 4A. So for Snow Canyon, you have to know you can beat anybody. That has to be a good mentality as you're going into the playoffs. You can beat anybody, so just go in and play your brand of baseball, and you'll be fine.
I would expect them to throw Kyson Goetz and then Andrew Lyon, but they won't have to worry about that till next week, as they get the bye. Crimson also gets the bye. Coach Justin Abbott, he's coaching his tail off there, 2-time state champs consecutively. Can they find the pitching and the guys, the depth to make a run and win a third? What a story it would be if they can do that. We know they can hit it, but the pitching has struggled to be consistent a little bit this year. And Coach Abbott's an old pitcher himself. He knows that firsthand, and he's working his tail off to get this team ready to make another run.
Yeah, you have guys like Still Barwin who can go out there and throw for Crimson Cliffs, and he's been pretty decent. The biggest thing is with Crimson, it just doesn't go as deep as you'd maybe want it to. You do have talent, especially in that batter's box, but you're right about the depth in pitching. That could be an issue. But I think through this first round, you still have to worry about Juan Diego or Logan. Obviously, Juan Diego is going to be favored here to go face Crimson Cliffs in the super regional round. That 7-10 matchup, that really is anybody's right there to take. So there are no guarantees for Crimson Cliffs here.
Yeah, but don't count out the heart of a champion. And how about Crimson Snow Canyon? That was a state championship rematch last year. Yep. We might get it on a Monday at Salt Lake Community College on the 13th if they can both advance through the super regionals next weekend. All right, one more look. This is the bottom of the 4A baseball bracket. One more time for you. And here you see the 11 seed Pineview hosting Skyview, Battle of the Views. We will have a good view of that game for you. We will be streaming that on KSLSports.com as well as the FanSportsNetwork.com. We'll have the game Friday, Saturday morning, and then an and one if necessary this weekend. That'll be our broadcast here on the Fan Sports Network. And then you see Park City draw on the 6th seed. They get a bye. Cedar, tough year, consecutive years for Coach Larson taking over. Just don't have a lot of depth at pitching. Take their lumps, but they did get a region win this year. They split with Turk in the final week of the season. That had to feel good. We'll see what they can do on the road, but they're going to be underdogs at Stansbury. We'll see if they can go shock the Stallions. And then Timpanogos, we've been hearing a lot about this team. They got state championship aspirations.
Yeah, they do. I think they're going to be really tough, and I expect them to come in and make some noise in the playoffs, and not just in the super regionals, but into the play at Salt Lake Community College. They're going to be a tough team for anybody to take down, and looking forward to some of those matchups coming starting on the 13th of May.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Again, really fun for us to team up with KSLSports.com. We're going to be up there at the 4A state tournament calling the action for you. We'll have the video feed, radio for everybody back in St. George. But a pleasure, an honor for us. This is the first ever reveal show. We've had a blast doing it for you. And good luck to all the teams that are in the tournament. And let's see who wins it, who's dogpiling on the pitcher's mound and taking home some 2A, 3A, or 4A state championship trophy hardware.
It's going to be a blast. Can't wait for it.
For our producer, Nate, for Robert, Coach Sechrist, Kaden Foremaster, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody, on KSLSports.com, your home for the playoffs in the state of Utah.